Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and the FPL eye test for Gameweek 25, or should I say double Gameweek 25, even though we are not fully finished with the double game week because we've only had the one single game for each team apart from Everton and Crystal Palace playing on Monday, but that's not going to fit into this video. I'm going to talk about that throughout the week. If there's something interesting from that game, it'd probably be another Brentford clean sheet on my bench, but we'll see what happens in that game. But that's not that interesting. Let's talk about the weekend's games and also a little bit more about what's going to happen on Tuesday and Wednesday when it comes to Man City and Liverpool, because yeah, all in all, this game week so far has been the game week for the single game week players rather than the double game week players. And we can just start talking about it straight away with the first game of the weekend, which was Brentford against Liverpool, with a lot of double game week players involved. Mainly two guys from Liverpool, meaning Diogo Jota and Darwin Núñez, and both of those guys ended up being disappointments, even though it looked pretty promising at the start of the game. So actually at the start of the game, the very start of the game, Brentford actually looked pretty good and looked pretty close to scoring, I think. Had a couple of decent chances. Mopai missed a decent chance, for example. But then Liverpool sort of took over the game more and more, and they got their goal from a counter-attack after Brentford had an offensive set piece. Van Dijk basically just booted the ball up towards the two strikers, Jota and Darwin. And it was a beautiful assist from Jota. Basically, the ball comes from behind all the way, like way up in the sky, and he manages to header it into the path of Darwin, who gets a pretty decent chance to score, really good chance to score actually. And I was sort of like half expecting him to miss because it's Darwin after all, but he pulled out one of the best finishes I've seen from him, especially for his Liverpool career so far. And yeah, basically just chipped the keeper perfectly. A really, really nice goal. Assist for Jota, goal for Darwin. Most people with both of them especially felt like they were in for a really good game week in general with both players. But it wasn't meant to be, because later on in the first half, Jota was the first casualty. He fell down and got another, I think it was Nørgaard, who landed up onto his leg after like a duel in the air, and Jota clearly struggled with it and had to just sit down after a little while. And he tried to go back up again, stand back up again, but he once again had to go to the floor and basically sit down and be stretched off for the first half. And that meant also a pretty early inclusion for Mohamed Salah, because before the game there was a lot of FPL managers who were interested to see if Salah was going to start or not. I think if Salah had started that game, several managers, including me actually, would have brought in Salah for this double game week, because yeah, we were just still waiting for Salah to have confirmed minutes in these games to be sure about him being a good player. But yeah, he didn't start the game. Most people didn't transfer him in, and then after about 37 minutes or something, Jota went down with an injury, and Salah comes in for Jota as his replacement. And yeah, several people who had only Darwin and not Jota were kind of celebrating, sort of like, haha, look at you guys. You have Jota who got injured and we have Darwin still. He's going to score a lot of goals. And then second half starts and Darwin has also been subbed off. And we get reports as well that Gakpo, who came on for Darwin, didn't even warm up in the halftime. So that meant Darwin had some issues as well with an injury, which apparently he has now. And he's still a doubt for especially the second game week, second fixture in this game week, but also potentially for the cup final a couple days after that as well. So huge blow for Liverpool. It seems like Jota's also out for a while. Curtis Jones also had to be subbed off with an injury earlier in the game. So the injuries just keep coming for Liverpool. We also had the Alisson news before the game that he was going to be injured again after coming back from illness. He now got injured, and Kelleher started in goal. So several injuries for Liverpool, and especially to key FPL players. So yeah, sad times for anyone with Jota or Darwin, or both especially, because both had to be subbed off. But then second half starts, Salah once again just takes the reins. Of course, Salah is the Egyptian king. He's the greatest FPL player of all time, and he gets an assist for McAllister, and then he scores his own goal, and he's back to being the best asset in the game, basically. 11 points total for Salah in this game. It's a fantastic game for him in general, but who could have seen it after he was deemed to not be fit to start. He actually got 50 minutes in the game in total. He was apparently kind of gassed at the end and needed a bit of rest and had a bit of cramping and stuff. So he's still not like a sure thing to start in the second game against Luton either, because it's only a few days in between the games. But yeah, already having 11 points, a lot more than the most popular triple captaincy choice so far, who we're going to talk about later. I know for certain I would switch, if I had the chance, I would switch to Salah triple captain if I could, because yeah, he's just that good. He doesn't even need that many minutes to both score and assist. The assist from McAllister, by the way, was just absolutely fantastic. Another great pass from Salah. he's so well-rounded. He's so much more than just a goal scorer. And for all people saying that, oh, compared to Hazard, he has nothing, he's such a untidy player or whatever. Sure, Hazard is more pleasing on the eye, but Salah is still pretty pleasing on the eye. He had a couple nice dribbles as well that were really, really good. The passing has just been immense the last few years, especially for Salah. And he keeps scoring every game. So, yeah, once again, fantastic asset. And he sort of took over with both Jota and Darwin out. Show that Liverpool don't really need anyone apart from Salah. He's like the main man that they need. He was certainly needed when they lost against Arsenal, and now that he's back, he's once again a really good option for FPL. Obviously not for next game week, Game 26, even though I think like 100,000 people haven't brought him in for Game 26, even though he doesn't have a game for that game week, which is kind of crazy. But Game 27 against Nottingham Forest away could be a really good option there still, even though they have Man City in Game 28 and then they blank in Game 29. Salah, I wish I had him. I had him up until Game 23 myself, and then I sold him because we hadn't gotten any news about Liverpool's double game week. And then the day after I sold him, we got the news about Liverpool's double game week. So yeah, kind of mad that I don't have Salah, but at the same time, pretty happy that he's back and playing well, and that I don't really suffer that much from FPL because of it, because not that many people have him. So happy days for those that have him, and for those without him, yeah, that's just what happens basically. But yeah. In the end, Liverpool didn't even get a clean sheet either. I did bring in Van Dijk this game week, and he was close to getting an assist for the Jota goal, or the Darwin goal, obviously. Could have gone straight to Jota. He had another decent assist chance as well to Salah as well in the game. But he got his clean sheet along with Bradley's clean sheet and Kelleher's clean sheet and all the Liverpool defenders' clean sheets. It got deleted by Ivan Toney, scoring in typical fashion. Ivan Toney, another pretty popular, not too popular double game week player, because most people are locked into Darwin, Haaland, and then either Solanke or Watkins, or Solanke and Watkins without Darwin, like I do, for example. So Toney, kind of a nice differential as well for those of you guys with him. So especially if you have Salah and Toney, you've gone a bit different from the rest of the crowd. You must be really, really happy about this game, and potentially the next game that they have as well, because they still have another game week, or another game to go this game week, both these teams. Yeah, Liverpool lose their clean sheets, and Liverpool, they managed to get the 4-1 goal as well. Gakpo as well, if anyone has him, he also got a goal and an assist and 2 bonus points, I think. So he scores 4-1, and then at injury time as well, Van Dijk, who I just brought in, like I mentioned, really close to getting the header to go into the goal, hit the bar with his header from a corner, and that was pretty much it for the game. That would have been 8 points, I think, for Van Dijk, 6 points for the goal, and then 2 points bonus he would have had as well if he had scored that. So yeah, kind of annoying as a Van Dijk owner, and yeah, I think Robertson actually put the cross in as well for anyone that has Robertson. So yeah, really poor luck in general for people with Liverpool assets, unless it's Salah or potentially Gakpo if you have him. And same with Brentford, really. The other thing with Brentford as well that is worth a mention is the fact that Reguilon was the one shooting, and which basically prompted the assist for, or gave him the assist for the goal for Toney, because Toney scored the rebound. And Toney should have probably had a penalty as well, pretty early in the game. I think it was in the first half even. Robertson just went straight into his back, full force, really. No chance for Toney to be still standing, or at least he was really affected by the push in the back from Robertson, or the barge into the back, I should say, from Robertson. So definitely should have been a penalty. There were a couple other penalty shouts. Diaz had a penalty shout. I think Jota had a penalty shout as well. I don't think they were quite as clear as the Toney one, but yeah, could have easily been a couple more correct refereeing decisions here, and that's going to be kind of a theme for all the games this game week. But yeah, I spent quite a lot of time talking about this game because it's quite an important game. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next game. Like I mentioned, I think Darwin has a small chance of making the next game. Jota, I think, is definitely out. Salah is most likely going to play 60 minutes at most. It seems like he is not fully fit to play the whole match, but he might start still in the next game, so that's going to be interesting. Anyone with Liverpool defenders as well, Bradley's going to play. Probably, most likely, unless Joe Gomez comes in as the right back. Maybe that happens, who knows. Kelleher is most likely going to play as well. I haven't seen any news on Alisson that he's going to be back early, and then I think Van Dijk as well is pretty set to play, and Robertson probably set to play as well, unless Chimikas gets a chance. So yeah, going to be really interesting. Brentford as well, Reguilon and Toney, if you have those guys, you should be really happy. Other thing with Brentford as well that needs to be mentioned is the fact that Pinnock was injured, and I think that also was part of the reason why Brentford struggled so much to defend, because some of the goals were just awful defending from my countryman Christopher Ayer in particular. So Yeah, Brentford really missing Ethan Pinnock. I think he's one of the most underrated centre-backs in the league as well, and I think Brentford are going to struggle without him. And seeing as they're facing Man City next game week, I think that is pretty good news for a lot of us with City assets in the game as well, but we'll get to City pretty soon. Let's move on to the next game, which is Spurs against Wolverhampton, and another, well, not really, the first result wasn't that shocking with Brentford losing to Liverpool, but Spurs at home with most of their players back from injury, Son back in the starting lineup, everything, I say most of Spurs players back, I mean offensively. Defensively, both Pedro Porro and Udogie were both out, which is a huge loss for Spurs, even offensively, so they were lacking. Not many people had any clean sheet hopes from Spurs. I don't think many people have Van de Ven or Romero or Vicario still. I think most people have either Pedro Porro mostly or Udogie in defense. And they conceded pretty early from a corner. A really nice corner from Sarabia and a really nice header from Joao Gomez, who scored both goals for Wolves in this match, as we'll get to pretty soon. He's a pretty underrated player as well. I mentioned Pinnock being underrated, and I think Joao Gomez is someone that is going to be more and more talked about within the next year, and he's probably going to make a move to a bigger club at some point within the next 2 years, I imagine, because yeah, he's a really good player, as he showed on the second goal as well. Nice corner from Sarabia as well. He's another option that is sort of forgotten about. He's pretty cheap. He's going to play now that Cunha is out for a little while. It's probably going to be Hwang, Sarabia, and Neto in those three offensive positions. And those three players, or the players in those three positions for Wolves, have been pretty good all season. Neto and Hwang had that long run where they just had goals, and Cunha for that matter, where they had goals or assists pretty much every week, and they've been a bit explosive as well. We saw Cunha have a hat-trick as well against Brentford, I think. Hwang had 2 goals against Brentford in the other game, I think. So Wolves have a lot of explosive players, and now even Joao Gomez with 2 goals. I don't think he's an FPL option per se, but he did score. Hwang, for what it's worth, also had a really huge chance pretty early in the game. Rebound that he got in the middle of the box, and he probably should have scored, but he shot it over and wide, I think, both at the same time. So Hwang is still a really good option. I think he's really tempting for those who are free hitting in 29 or have enough players for 29 anyway, or are wildcarding in 27. There's a lot of ways you can tackle the next few game weeks, but Hwang is definitely someone who should be on your radar for the next game week. Most likely they will not play in game week 29. Who knows, more like crazier things have happened, I guess. But yeah, Hwang is still a really good option for, especially the next few game weeks, if you have the room to get him in. So he's interesting, even though he missed a big chance. But he's still on penalties. He's still a really good player, and he can have a major haul in at some point as well. But back to the game, Wolves obviously took the lead with Joao Gomez, and then Spurs equalized with Kulusevski. Richarlison got the assist, and this was pretty lucky. Last game, I think Richarlison was really unlucky not to get potentially 2 goals. And this time around, pretty lucky to get the assists. He basically just touched the ball, and Kulusevski got it back from him and did a really nice job of going through a couple players and scoring a really nice goal. Kulusevski is someone that has, speaking of underrated players, it's sort of the theme of this FPL test, I guess. Kulusevski, I think, has been absolutely fantastic for Spurs, and not that many people have talked about him. There's so many people to talk about with Spurs under Ange Postecoglou, but I think Kulusevski, he's basically back to his best, like he was at the start of his Spurs career. He's not the best like FPL prospect, because he's usually the guy assisting the assister and stuff. He does a lot of the dirty work, a lot of the small things, but I think Kulusevski has been absolutely fantastic this season and scored a really nice goal to equalize in this game. But then Wolves in the second half, they got the chance to counter on Spurs. Spurs lost the ball pretty high up the pitch, and then Pedro Neto was left to run the length of the pitch basically. Stopped and passed it into the box, where Joao Gomez came in at the correct time and scored a Lampard-esque goal, I guess you could say, where he just shot it from a really nice forward run from him and basically sealed the deal for Wolves. Spurs actually had a couple of decent chances to score at the end, especially with Ben Davies, who again showed why the fullbacks for Spurs are so popular in FPL. It would have been a typical position for Udogie to be in as well in the box, but it was basically a header for Davies. I think it was again Kulusevski with the pass, or potentially Madison. I can't remember exactly who it was, but yeah, decent chance in the box for Davies, but he missed it. But just shows you once again how valuable those attacking fullback assets are for Spurs, especially when it's Udogie and Pedro Porro. So I think Udogie is going to be back for Game Week 27. I think he's a really good purchase at that point in time as well. So they're going to blank in 26, obviously, so you can't really worry too much about Spurs players for the next game week. But after that, Game Week 27 onwards, especially seeing as they have a Game Week 29 fixture, Spurs assets are going to be really, really interesting. And Richarlison, if you still have him, I think he's definitely worth keeping. Maybe some of you guys have to sell him because you have other players you want to keep who are blanking in 26, but I think he's still a really good option as a striker. Son is an absolutely fantastic option, obviously. Udogi is going to be back for game 27, most likely. He's going to be a really good option. And Pedro might make it for game 27, might make it for game 28. I think he's a decent chance of making it for game 29 at least. So he's also going to be a decent option. Maddison as well, always a good option for Spurs. So they have a lot of good FPL options, but not for this next game week at least. But Wolves as well, especially if you're free hitting in game week 29, like I'm currently looking at doing. I think Hwang is going to be the most interesting player for them. Neto is interesting, but as we see with Sarabia coming into the team with Cunha out, he's going to take a couple set pieces away from Neto as well. That's going to dampen his appeal a little bit. And Hwang is just on penalties. He's the most offensively minded of them, and he's been their top scorer this season. So I think he's the pick of them all, basically. But Sarabia is also a really good player who's showed earlier in the season. I think it was even against Spurs. Didn't Wolves? I think Wolves beat Spurs 2-1 in the home fixture as well, where Sarabia came on and scored 2 really nice goals, or at least 1 really nice goal, 1 assist or something like that. So Sarabia is a decent pick in his own right, but I think Hwang is the best option for Wolves. And they are really good options, especially for the next game week against Sheffield United. I think after that they have Newcastle, which is a really good team to target as well for offensive players. And then I think they have Fulham at home or something like that in the following game week. A pretty easy game at home. Maybe Nottingham Forest at home. Can't remember exactly. But yeah, 3 really good fixtures now in 26, 27, 28 for Wolves players. So definitely people to consider if you have enough players for game week 29, whether you're free hitting or you have enough players already in your team for that game week. And who knows, maybe we'll get some more players available for game week 29 as well through the FA Cup fixtures in between game week 26 and game week 27. We'll get to know who blanks in 29 and who doesn't blank. So you might get some more players for those game weeks as well. But I think for this next game against Sheffield United, who are just absolutely awful at the minute, as we'll talk about pretty soon in this video, I think Hwang is a really, really enticing option for the future. When it comes to West Ham, who might be the team that you have to target for Game Week 26 and Game Week 29 because they play in both those game weeks, they're just not looking good currently. A lot of it is down to the fact that they don't have, or we don't have, as a West Ham fan, I could say that, don't have Lucas Paquetá, who's been a major miss for West Ham. He's basically been the best player for West Ham this season. Sorely missed. He was also the one playing left wing, basically. De facto, because West Ham have a lot of good centre midfielders and they don't really have a left winger at all, especially now that Benrahma has left, and they only have one striker, being Michail Antonio, who is back for this game against his former club at Nottingham Forest. But yeah, basically this game West Ham just really bad. They had a pretty good chance with the aforementioned Antonio, came through on his own, close to at least, had a defender defending him. Easily could have just gone to his left and tried to shoot it with his left, or either even shot it with his right, but he tried to go inside onto his right as well, where there were several Nottingham Forest players. So yeah, he was pretty frustrated with that decision himself. I think he's a bit rusty now after about 2 months out, I think, Antonio. So he needs some time for West Ham, but I think it's a plus for him to play as well, for Bowen at least, playing at the right wing. Kudus actually played out on the left, and that's probably not the best position for him. He's also, like Bowen, his best position is at the right wing. So West Ham's squad structure is a bit up in the air right now. So yeah, really struggling now, West Ham in general. And once again, didn't manage to score any goals in this game. The Antonio chance was basically the one huge chance that they had. Apart from that, not that much going for West Ham. Nottingham Forest, however, has a really, really good striker in Taiwo Avani. His first goal, or the first goal of this game, was really, really nice. Got the pass in the box, easily just spun around and turned Aguerd away. And Suma was nowhere near to stop him either. Both Aguerd and Suma, if you ask West Ham fans, pretty sick and tired of both those guys. Aguerd just keeps making mistakes, and Suma is just, he seems kind of past it at this point, which is kind of crazy to say, but because he's only 29 years old or something, 30 years old or something. But yeah, both those guys not that good. Oni, fantastic, scores the goal for Nottingham Forest, and Nottingham Forest have a couple really good chances to score as well. You can see Antonio Langa there has the best non-penalty expected goal moment. He basically had a 100% chance where he was open in the box, could easily score, but just shot it straight over the goal. Really poor finish from him. But Forest in the end, well, I should actually mention a couple more things that happened in this game. West Ham, Calvin Phillips, I did mention West Ham have a lot of good centre mids. They have Paquetá, they have Souček, they have obviously Ward-Prowse, and they have Edson Alvarez. That's 4 really good centre mids. 4 at least very good centre mids. Some world-class centre mids and some really good Premier League standard centre mids. And then they don't have any left wingers, and they have only one really fit striker apart from Danny Ings and Antonio. And they decided to sign Calvin Phillips in January transfer window and no one else, which is kind of crazy. But Calvin Phillips played this game 2 really stupid yellow cards. The first one for pushing in the back a player. He got frustrated and pushed him in the back, so he fell down a little bit. And then the second yellow card, he basically showed his studs while he was trying to go for the ball, and that was the second yellow for him, and he got a red card. So it made matters worse West Ham when it was still only 1-0 for Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest really should have had a penalty as well towards the end of the second half. Can't remember exactly which player it was who was through in the box, but basically Maxwell Cornet was unlucky and stepped on his heel, and they checked it with VAR. They checked it from like a really wide angle where you couldn't really see if there was contact at all. They checked that angle for like a minute straight for some reason, and then they checked the closer angle where they actually saw that there was like a complete like 100% Cornet stepping on the Nottingham Forest player, which made him fall down. But still, they managed to not give them the penalty. So I don't really understand that. Bad times for anyone with I almost said Hudson-Odoi, but it's not Hudson-Odoi I'm talking about. Gibbs White is the one I'm talking about, who's on penalties for Nottingham Forest. Bad times for him. But anyone with Hudson-Odoi in their team, if there are any of you guys out there, he scored in his third game in a row, got the pass into the box, and basically from point blank range, he shot it into the goal for Nottingham Forest, which also made sure that anyone starting Areola, like me, got a -1 point for 2 goals conceded, and he also lost 1 bonus point from Hudson-Odoi scoring as well, because Hudson-Odoi, I think, took one of the bonus points from him. So yeah, big moment for Nottingham Forest and Hudson-Odoi. He was really happy with his third goal in 3 games, or a goal in 3 straight games, to put it that way. And West Ham, again, left to rue the day. West Ham in 2024 have just been absolutely awful. No wins, only 2 open play goals. Really struggling without Lucas Paquetá. And David Moyes is also really struggling. There were a couple of Moyes out banners, a lot of like vitriol towards David Moyes online. And personally, as a West Ham fan, I think it's the time is over for David Moyes. Thanks for everything, as I've written in the notes there. I think he's done what he can for West Ham. He's been a huge asset for West Ham, making them like a top 10 easy league position type of team in the Premier League, and also with long and nice cup runs culminating in the Conference League trophy win last season. But I think now is the time for West Ham to change the manager. Probably at the end of the season, I think David Moyes deserves to get to finish off the season before his contract runs out. But at that point, I think West Ham need to move on to someone else. Potentially someone like Gary O'Neill, who's been absolutely fantastic for Wolverhampton. I think he would be my personal first choice for West Ham. But I think David Moyes needs to go. But again, there's no need for that online vitriol. Like people are saying like, oh, you either die a hero or like live long enough to become the villain and stuff about David Moyes. And David Moyes will always be a huge name in West Ham history books and stuff. He's been really good for West Ham. So anyone with that type of like, I don't know, you can criticize him, but like saying like he's a C word and F word and whatever word you want to tell him that he doesn't deserve that. He deserves better than that, David Moyes. So yeah. Either way, that's a little bit of a tangent for me as a West Ham fan. But West Ham, again, looking terrible. Nottingham Forest got a huge win for them. First clean sheet they've had in a long while. First win they've had in a long while as well, I think. And yeah, 3 nice points for Nottingham Forest. But let's move on to the next game in the game week. Basically, not the next game, because they were all played at the same time around 3 p.m. English time, 4 p.m. for me here in Norway. The next game I want to talk about is Newcastle against Bournemouth, and this was a pretty significant game as well for a lot of FPL managers, because I think a lot of people had the choice between starting Gordon for Newcastle or starting Solanke for Bournemouth in this game, and both ended up getting points. Gordon got 8 points, Solanke got 12 points, but they were both sort of unlucky not to score earlier and then lucky to get the goals that they actually got. So I'll try to explain how that works in this segment. So basically, start of the game, Newcastle have a couple decent chances. One really nice like full volley cross from Trippier. He's really, really good at those. Just when he gets it on his leg and he could just go straight in with the volley into the box. He has pinpoint accuracy every time, and that was the case this time as well. Ball goes into Gordon. He has basically an open header, but Gordon is not the best with his head and headers it down to the ground and basically outside of the goal. So really big chance there for Gordon straight away. And Trippier, again, looking really good offensively. Bournemouth sort of took over in the match from that point on. Had some really big chances. Solanke was basically through on goal and had a pretty weak finish with his left. Really should have scored there. He also had a really nice chance after that where he got the cross and basically got the foot to the ball, but the ball went straight at Dubravka in goal. So for someone like me who started Solanke and benched Dubravka, I was pretty much kicking myself for that game, because Solanke had really huge chances to score and Dubravka was just in the way. It seemed like that type of game basically. But then the script kind of flipped, because the opening goal for Bournemouth was Solanke just chasing the ball. The ball goes back to Dubravka, and Dubravka basically does his best Steven Gerrard impression and slips while he's trying to control the ball. Solanke gets paid for chasing the ball and basically has the easiest job in the world to tap the ball in. So that's partly why he has such a high expected goal moment in this game. Part of it is because of the two big chances earlier in the game where he missed. I think he had like 1.38 expected goals before he scored the goal. And then the goal that he scored, I think, was a lot of XG as well. I haven't checked the exact numbers, but like an open goal from just a couple of yards out with no goalkeeper even should just be a tap in and like an easy goal every time of the week. So lucky for Solanke there, but also unlucky that he didn't score earlier in the game. So all in all, I think he could have had, he probably ended up with about the right amount of points with 12 in the end, as we'll get to pretty soon. But yeah, Newcastle basically struck back. They got a penalty, which was really, really lucky and incorrect in my view, but maybe not according to the rules currently. Basically, they had a free kick. They hit the ball towards the box, and Fabian Schär is in an offside position, but he gets pulled down before the ball goes to him. So he's basically fouled before he's deemed to be offside. So he is in offside position and gets hindered because he's trying to get the ball. Sort of, but the ball isn't close enough, so he's not deemed to be offside. Even though he was in offside position, he's not actually offside until he is close to the ball. So for that reason, the referee just lets the ball the play move on, and then after the chance is gone on the set piece for Newcastle, the referee pulls up his flag, I think, for offside. But then they check with VAR and they find out that the foul was actually before it was deemed offside. And I think this is just such a stupid rule. If you are offside and you're tackled, you are offside. Like, you got an advantage from being offside by the fact that the defender had to sort of stop you going through. So it should never be a penalty in my eyes. But yeah, either way, ended up being a penalty for Newcastle. Probably shouldn't have been, like I just mentioned. And Gordon steps up to take it, because both Isak and Wilson were out for this game. Neither were there to start. And as I think Kevin, actually, my co-host on the FPL Scope podcast, mentioned earlier in the season, when both Isak and Wilson were out, Gordon is a really nice option to be on penalties. Because he took a couple of penalties for Everton as well. And he took the penalty now for Newcastle. It wasn't the best penalty. It was pretty close to the penalty that Saka took, as we'll talk about pretty soon with Arsenal. But basically, Neto in the Bournemouth goal just couldn't reach it, couldn't put it past the post. I don't even think he touched it properly, but he was really close to saving it. But Gordon still scored and gave Newcastle the lead. And then in the second half, I think, or maybe even still in the same half, I can't remember exactly which half it was. But either way, Bournemouth take the lead again, 2-1. Solanke gets the ball, passes it out to Semenyo, and gets a pretty lucky assist. Like I mentioned, Solanke could have had goals the proper way early in the game, and then he gets sort of a really lucky goal and then a pretty lucky assist as well, because he passes it to Semenyo, who just basically drives forward and shoots it from pretty far out, and the ball just zooms into the net. Really nice shot from Semenyo. Bournemouth take the lead 2-1, and it seems like Bournemouth are going to go through and win the game, win away from home at St. James's Park, which would be a really nice win for them. But then right at the end, Matt Ritchie, the former Bournemouth player, steps up and gets a double chance basically in the box. He tries to finish it first. It goes into a defender from Bournemouth, hits the goalkeeper, goes back to Ritchie, who slots it home, celebrates like crazy against his former club, and Newcastle managed to get 2-2 from this game. So 8 points for Gordon in the end, 12 points for Solanke in the end. They both could have had more, they both could have had less. They probably ended up with the right amount of points. So yeah, whether you started Solanke, whether you started Gordon, or if you don't have either, or if you have both, that's great for you. But as a Solanke owner, especially for me, really happy to see him score, especially when it was against Dubravka, who was like one of my main threats to my rank this week, because I benched him for Areola. But either way, 2-2 in this game. Bournemouth kind of looked back to the best again. Solanke getting a lot of chances. He's always involved with Bournemouth. He's still a really good asset. They do play Man City next game week, so he's not like a priority transfer, but if you have Darwin, it makes the most sense to get Solanke in time for his double game week in 28. They also have Burnley away in game week 27, and as we'll talk about pretty soon, that's going to be a really good game as well for Solanke and Bournemouth. Next up, we have Fulham against Aston Villa, and again, we're going to talk about some strikers who did really well, one for each team. Firstly, Ollie Watkins. I know a lot of people sold Ollie Watkins to get Darwin, and you guys are probably pretty sad about that right now, because Watkins had another fantastic game where he could have had so much more as well. Like I mentioned for how Solanke and Gordon could have had more points, but Watkins especially was just immense this game and had some really nice goals and should have had probably some more points as well, apart from the 2 goals that he did score. But opens to scoring with a really nice goal, basically turns on the dime, kind of similar to Avanier, I guess, and shoots it into the net. Really nice goal from Watkins there, assist from McGinn, I think. And then we also had a couple other chances. There was a disallowed goal, Moreno, where Watkins headed it to Moreno and he scored. And the lines that they drew for that goal to disallow it were kind of controversial, because it sort of looked like Moreno's basically his ass was too big and was what put him offside. But when you looked closer at the line, where they had drawn the line from the Fulham defender who was the closest to the goal, the line actually went through his foot, so they had actually placed the line a little bit wrong, I think. So I think it probably should have been given. I don't really trust these lines from VAR. I've seen it in the past as well, where they've had the wrong line and then they sort of change it. So I think that probably should have been a goal for Aston Villa as well with Moreno. Again, another disallowed goal for Moreno. He's been really close to scoring a lot more goals lately. He's a really good offensive-minded fullback for Aston Villa, especially when he gets to play over Digne. And once again, he didn't get his goal, basically. And Watkins didn't get his assist either. But Watkins got his second goal later on in the game, where Yuri Tielemans basically passed it through to him. Really nice pass from Tielemans, really nice run from Watkins. Not that nice defending from Issa Diop, the former West Ham defender. I've talked a little bit of shit about West Ham centre-backs, and Diop, as a former West Ham centre-back, sort of struggled in this game as well with Watkins. But really nice run from Watkins, really nice finish as well. Typical striker's goal from Watkins. And then Fulham actually struck back with a typical striker's goal from Rodrigo Muniz, who's once again taken his chance. Well, he's been a really terrific, classic goal poacher the last few games. He scored in the last 3 games in a row, I think. He scored twice even in one of the games. And he's basically taken his chance really well since Raul Jimenez went down with an injury. He's keeping Armando Broja still out of the team for Fulham after his transfer or loan, I think, from Chelsea. And it's well deserved, because Muniz is scoring really nice goals. He's just popping up in front of the defenders, in front of the goalkeepers, the unsuspecting defensive players, and scores really nice goal poachers goals, basically. So Muniz got a really nice goal as well. Rodrigo, to be fair to him, also could have had an assist. He had a really nice pass through to Adama Traore, who went through and, as always, kind of missed his chance. That easily could have been the equalizer for Fulham, who could have had the draw, but Aston Villa in the end deserved winners. I would say Watkins really good in this game, and like I said, could have had a lot more points. He also had another close assist. I can't remember exactly who shot the ball, but he had another pass to a pretty open man who could have scored. And he also could have had a pen, and he also obviously could have had the assist for the disallowed goal from Moreno. So Watkins, again, just looks absolutely fantastic. I think he is, again, someone that you should prioritize to get back in, especially for next game for them. I think they have Nottingham Forest at home next game. So I think Watkins is a really high priority transfer this game week, especially seeing as Aston Villa have a fixture in Gameweek 29 as well. Watkins just looks really, really good at the moment. Aston Villa look back to their best as well. They have figured a couple things out. I think Tielemans and Bailey starting every game. It's a huge plus for them. Both of those guys have been really good. Tielemans is, again, as I mentioned most of this video about underrated players. I think Tielemans has sort of been a forgotten man since he, the last part of his run for Leicester was not good. He sort of, I don't know, it felt like he was sort of past it, not as a footballer in total, but sort of past his stay at Leicester. Then he got his free transfer to Aston Villa, and at the start of the season he looked pretty bad. Pretty out of it, but lately I think he's been absolutely fantastic for Aston Villa, and he's a huge asset for Watkins as well as an FPL option. So yeah, really good for Aston Villa, and really good attacking wise, especially now that Douglas Luiz has to play a bit more defensive, as you can see from the expected goal moment there in this game. Douglas Luiz nowhere near it. He's maybe not as good of an FPL option anymore after Boubacar Kamara got injured, but Tielemans is filling in his role as a more attacking sort of midfielder. I really helped Watkins in this game as well. So 2-1 for Aston Villa, huge win for Watkins, huge win for those of us who kept Watkins, big loss for those who went from Watkins to Darwin, but that's just what happens, I guess. But I don't really begrudge you for going for Darwin. I think he was a really good pick. He could have had a lot of goals for Liverpool if he wasn't injured in that game either, and they'd still have another game to go. So bad luck for those with Darwin, but good luck and I don't know, just good decisions, I guess, for those of us, including me, who have Watkins still in their team. But yeah, deserved win for Aston Villa, sorta. Fulham could have also brought it back and got 2-2 in this game. Fulham are no joke still. Rodrigo Muniz, I think, is someone to watch for sure. Fulham also have a game in Gameweek 29. I think they play Nottingham Forest, which is a pretty good game. So if Rodrigo can still keep his place there, he is going to be a 4.5, 4.6 striker who is in the form of his life right now, scoring a lot of goals. So yeah, interesting players left, right, and center in that game as well, I think. So yeah, something to think about. Then we come to another really interesting team when it comes to Fantasy Premier League, and that is Arsenal. Yes, they don't have a game in Gameweek 29. That's the drawback if you don't free hit in 29 and you don't wildcard and have Arsenal players basically before then, and then bench them for Game 29 with still enough of players to play in Game 29. But yeah, if you are wildcarding or free hitting in 29 like I am, having Arsenal players is just a huge plus. I do have Saka, I do have Gabriel. I'm looking to buy. I was close to buying Saliba rather than Van Dijk this game week, and I probably should have done that in hindsight. But I also kind of really want to buy Ødegaard right now because I think he's going to be a really nice differential. Like I said, if you're free hitting in Game 29, having Ødegaard for these next 3 matches where Arsenal have some really easy opponents. Newcastle at home next time. Newcastle just keeps conceding goals, as you can see, 2.31 expected goals conceded against Bournemouth. They've been really weak defensively, both home and away lately. I think Ødegaard is going to be a really nice extra player to have on top of Saka. And also, if you don't have Saka because you're still looking to have players for Game 29, you might just need to have him for 26, 27, 28 as well before you sell him again at 29. I think he's that important right now because he's just playing really, really good, so really, really well. So yeah, let's get into the game. First goal for Arsenal was Ødegaard, like I mentioned. Fantastic goal from him. Some people say that I look a little bit like him. Maybe I do. Let me try to do the post that he's doing. I don't know. I don't know if I'm similar, but I'm a blonde Norwegian, so I get that sometimes. But either way, he scored a much better goal than I could have scored. The first goal for Arsenal, a nice pass to him, and he shoots it on like a half volley. Basically times it perfectly. You know that when you get that perfect timing where the ball has just bounced as you hit it, and then it went straight into the goal. Bottom corner, the near bottom corner for Ødegaard. Perfect shot from him after a really nice attack from Arsenal as well. Really nice opening goal for Arsenal, and yeah, basically set the tone for the rest of the game there with that goal. Then Saka gets a penalty for Arsenal. Trossard goes down in the box. Looked kind of cheap, like a kind of cheap penalty, I think. But as a Saka owner, I sort of think it was a penalty. Maybe I'm a bit biased there, but it looks like actually Ødegaard was the one to step up to take it. He had the ball in his hands, basically, and then they showed the camera cut off to something else, and then cut back again to the penalty mark. But then all of a sudden, rather than Ødegaard having the ball, it was Saka having the ball, as they've done a couple of times this season, where Ødegaard keeps the ball until they're about to take the penalty, and he gives it to Saka to shoot it. So Saka took the penalty, and kind of like Gordon for Newcastle, kind of similar to that penalty, kind of a weak penalty down to his bottom right. The goalkeeper, James Trafford, was after it, but James Trafford, as who is the standout player for this game, just because I want to sort of highlight how Burnley fans are kind of fed up with him at this point. He didn't manage to save this either, even though he was after the ball and basically touched the ball as well. But yeah, James Trafford has not been the best for Burnley. I don't think he was at fault for many other goals for this game in particular, but Burnley and him are just struggling in general, and Arsenal were there ready to pounce, because Arsenal are in the form of their lives basically at the moment. Defensively so sound. Burnley were never close to scoring this game. Anyone with Gabriel and Saliba, for example, in their team, or David Raya and Gabriel, or any combination of 2 Arsenal defenders, are probably happy with this game. Or if you had Ødegaard and Saka, like I mentioned, as being an enticing option for me, you guys are smiling and happy about this game, especially if you're an Arsenal fan as well, because Arsenal are just looking really, really fantastic lately. So yeah, I think it's going to continue to happen as well. Second half, Saka scored another goal, another assist from Ødegaard as well. Pass to Saka. He basically could have shot it with his left, and he sort of hesitates a little bit. It seems like the chance has gone away. The ball goes over to Saka's right, and he just blasts it top corner. Really nice shot. Maybe Trafford could save that, but again, kind of a surprising shot with his right from Saka, and another perfect finish from Saka. He's back to playing his best football now, and really showing why he's still a really good player in FPL. I've had him the whole season, which I was kind of surprised by, because I thought when I sold Salah that I had sold my final player that I had since Game Week 1, but Saka's just been there since Game Week 1 and been like slowly, steadily getting a lot of points, and then lately he's just been exploding, getting a lot of points and punishing all those guys who sold him because of the Game Week 29 fixtures. Or the lack of a Game Week 29 fixture, I should say. So scored a really nice goal as well. And then finally, both Trossard, who again got a goal, and Havertz, who got a really nice goal for him as well, made it to be 5-0 for Arsenal away to Burnley. So that's 11-0 in their final two games, or the last two games against West Ham and Burnley. Not really good to be a claret and blue team against Arsenal lately. And I think they actually play Aston Villa pretty soon as well. So that's the third team on the list, I guess, for Arsenal to beat handedly. But a really impressive performance by Arsenal. Ødegaard, Saka, really good options. Gabriel Saliba, obviously, really good options. Raya, really good options as well. So plenty to choose from Arsenal, especially if you are free hitting in 29. I think that's a big advantage for you guys, or us guys, I should say. Because we can have Arsenal players. We can have three Arsenal players before Game Week 29 and after Game Week 29 as well. 3 Arsenal players is going to be really good because they have a double game week in 34. Obviously, if you're free hitting in 29, you can't use your free hit in 34, and that's when you need 3 Arsenal players once again. So yeah, I think 3 Arsenal players and free hitting in 29 just makes a lot of sense, because those are the 3 guys, or those are the 3 players from the same team that you want for Game Week 34, because there are probably going to be a couple other double game week players in that game week 34, but it's looking like it's going to be Everton, Crystal Palace, and Sheffield United, I think, who are the other 3 double game week teams in game week 34. And I think Arsenal is by far the most important player, or most important team to have players from in that game week. So yeah, I think free hitting in 29 and having Arsenal players before and after game week 29 is the way to go personally. But yeah, I know a lot of other people are not looking to free hit in 29, so you're lost, I guess, I should say, for that. But let's move on to the next game. And speaking of FPL relevancy, this game has a lot of it. Man City against Chelsea, obviously a double game week for Man City. And Haaland was the triple captaincy choice for pretty much everyone, it seems like. I think its effective ownership was around 260%, which is absolutely crazy. The highest I think it's ever been. I think Salah 2 seasons ago had like Leeds and Norwich or something at home in the same game week, and he had sort of similar triple captaincy numbers. He actually really delivered back then, and Haaland so far has not delivered because he missed several huge chances for City. As you can see, he's holding his head. Again, I'm doing an impression of the Norwegian players in this video. The blonde Norwegian tall guys in this video, like me. But Haaland just missed so many chances in this game. He really should have had probably 2 goals, maybe an assist as well on top of that. But it just wasn't Haaland's day. It just wasn't City's day either. Chelsea took the lead pretty early. Sterling scored the opening goal against his former team. Again, pretty bad from Kyle Walker, who I think has not been the best defensively this season. He's had a couple stinkers here and there. So yeah, he is potentially the best right back of all time in the Premier League, but I don't think he's been that good this season, which is kind of crazy because he's been the guy who's played the most for Man City in defense, which is interesting. But yeah, I think he's been, at least like towards the latter half of the season now, he's been sort of lackluster defensively, and once again was sort of just easily turned away from by Sterling, and Sterling scored a goal for Chelsea. But Chelsea had a couple decent chances. The first half, I think Chelsea were actually the best team in this game. Really could have scored with Nicholas Jackson as well. He had to miss a big chance, as always, as he usually does. And that would have been a Gusto assist. I think Gusto, again, looked absolutely fantastic. Really quick, really offensively minded. Just looks like a really good player in general. I have him in my FPL team, and I'm now looking to just keep him because he was close to getting 3 bonus if they would have kept the 1-0 win in this game. But Man City, as they usually do, they managed to score a goal in the end. They managed to score despite Haaland missing a lot of chances, and Disasi playing out of his skin, being the man of the match basically for Chelsea. Both him and Gusto, I think, were really, really good. Gusto more offensively so, Disasi really good defensively. But Chelsea just couldn't withstand the pressure. They also subbed off Cole Palmer, who blanked, got only 2 points in this game. He got a yellow card. So despite being subbed off when they had a clean sheet, he only got 2 points for anyone that started in FPL this game week. But I think that was kind of a weak move from Chelsea, because I think they should have just kept like attacking when they had the chance, because they basically just invited City to just completely take over the game, create several of the chances that Haaland missed, for example. One of them being across from De Bruyne with his left. Perfect heading opportunity for Haaland. He missed a volley on his left foot earlier in the game as well, but he easily should have scored that header from the De Bruyne cross, which would have made it 1-1 for City. But City in the end managed to score the 1-1 goal, and again it was Rodri with an important goal for City, as he has done several times for them. It was also an assist for Walker, so anyone that has Walker should be pretty happy about that, considering he was kind of at fault at the goal that they did concede in this game. But he had a goal or a shot that was rebounded, went out to Rodri, who shot it, and the ball hit, I think it was even Disasi actually who hit the ball with his knee, and the ball went into the net. But the ball was going towards the goal anyway, so it was a goal credited to Rodri. And that ended up being 1-1 for City. I kind of expected City to score the winning goal from there, but they just didn't manage to get that important goal and get that win, and lost a couple more points in the battle for the top spot in the Premier League to Liverpool and Arsenal, who had won earlier in the game week. I think at the very end there was potentially a penalty for Man City. I think most people don't think it's a penalty, but for me, I don't know. Levi Colwill, who had a pretty good game, is basically holding on to Ruben Diaz, I think it was. And as he was holding on to the shirt of Ruben Diaz, he sort of, like, the hand sort of goes to the ball and touches the ball as well. So I think that sort of is de facto a natural position. It's not a natural position if you're holding the shirt of another player. So I think it sort of should be handball and sort of holding the shirt as well at the same time. But I don't know. It would have been a soft and kind of stupid penalty towards the end of the game. A game which could have gone either way, to be honest. Yes, Man City had the best XG by far in this game. They had several huge chances to score. But that was also partly due to Chelsea just trying to defend their lead. And while Chelsea were still attacking, I think they were basically just as good as City when it comes to creating chances and stuff. Had a couple really nice chances, Chelsea. So I think 1-1 in the end was the fair result. But I think maybe Man City could have had a penalty towards the end there. I really expected them to get it as well with VAR checking the situation. But it was neither deemed to be a foul on the shirt pull, or it wasn't deemed to be a handball either from Colwill, even though his hand hit the ball and sort of guided the ball as well a little bit after he had to pull the shirt of the City player. So yeah, I think Chelsea sort of got away with one there, but I think also it was fine to let it go and be 1-1. I think it was sort of a 1-1 game in general. But the big story from this game: blanks from Haaland, blanks from De Bruyne, blanks from Foden, blanks from any City player not named Rodri or Walker. So if you have either of those guys, happy days for you. But most of us with Haaland triple captain sort of left to rue the day, I guess. But personally, as someone who triple captain Haaland myself, this is the least I've been excited about a triple captain ever, I think. Everyone has him. We expect him to score, but I think he's going to score. For what it's worth, I think he's going to score a lot of goals against Brentford. I don't think Brentford looked good at all against Liverpool defensively. Ethan Pinnock is going to be a huge miss for them. And yes, Haaland has never scored against Brentford. He only got an assist last time when Foden scored a hat-trick. But I think this is the time for Haaland to score a lot of goals and basically repay the faith for anyone that triple captained him. I still think it was a good decision for what it's worth. He easily should have had a goal or potentially 2 goals in this game. Haaland, so really unlucky for those like me who triple captained him. But I think he's going to strike back again against Brentford. Chelsea, interesting game. I think Palmer being subbed off was kind of weird, like I mentioned earlier. I think he's going to be a really good asset. They're also playing Brentford in the next game week, and they're playing Newcastle after that. 2 really good teams to target. So I think Palmer is someone that you should keep if you still have him as well. Kind of like Richarlison, but it depends. Again, like with Richarlison and those guys who don't play in Game 26, it depends how many players you can choose for Game 26. But I think you should prioritize more the games 27 and 28 with the good players that you can have from those games. Or potentially 26 if you can find some good players that you don't have already, like Saka, for example. I think that's more important to have than having 11 players for a particular game week. But yeah, either way, 1-1 in this game. And then the final 2 games from Sunday. We're getting close to the hour mark now, 50 minutes of the video, so let's just go kind of quickly through them. First game, Sheffield United against Brighton. Pretty much what you expect when Sheffield United get a red card early in the game. Mason Holgate with an absolutely terrible tackle on Mitoma. Was giving us the yellow card at first, but then they looked at it again, and once again Sheffield United got a red card from VAR, which was completely correct, just like it was against West Ham when Brewster had the awful tackle. This time around it was Holgate with the awful tackle, and Sheffield United were down to 10 men after about 15 minutes of the game. And from that point on, Brighton basically took control, Scored a couple goals. First, it was Man Utd who scored from a dunk assist. Then I think Mitoma sort of forced a goal as well, where I think Welbeck scored a goal. And from there, Brighton just basically were in full control. And for anyone with Estepinian who were hoping for lots of points for him this game, that must have been such a huge letdown, because he didn't start in this game. And Brighton, pretty early on, we could see that they were going to just keep attacking, keep having a lot of players in the offensive part of the pitch. And they were not going to concede in this game, most likely. Even though Sheffield United had a pretty good chance to score with Ben Hamer or whatever. Really nice technical skill from Hammer. Sort of kind of like the Kulusevski goal for Spurs, but he didn't manage to finish it off. And Sheffield United also almost had a goal as well, right before the half, that was disallowed. First, the goal was disallowed for a foul, and then they checked it again, and it was disallowed for an offside. And I think it ended up being the right decision, but not for the reason that they gave potentially. I don't know. I think the rule is kind of stupid. I think if you pass it backwards, it should never be offside. I think that should be a rule potentially. I don't know. I haven't thought it through potentially or completely yet, but it just feels kind of weird when you're touching the ball and it goes backwards and then it's going to be offside because a player from the opposing team hits it back towards the goal again and then they score. But that's basically what happened, and it was deemed to be offside on whoever scored for Sheffield United. I can't remember the guy again. Osborne, was it? But I think it was actually offside because I think Ahmed Hodzic, the other centre-back for Sheffield United, actually touched the ball right before Osborne touched it, and that would have made Osborne offside anyway. So I think it ended up being the right decision in the end, but I think maybe you should change the rules a little bit there when it comes to passes going backwards being offside. I don't know. It feels kind of weird for me for that to be offside, but either way, that was the final chance for Sheffield United to score in this game, which is good news for anyone with Dunk, who got an assist for the first goal and also got the clean sheet in the end and got 12 points, I think, or 11 points, 12 points, I think. I think he got 3 bonus on top of Gross, who was absolutely fantastic, created a couple of chances, had a big chance missed and all that stuff. Looked like he was not going to reward his owners, but then he got the assist for the final, or one of the final goals for Adingra. But Mitoma again, I think he was the one, the architect behind the 3-0 goal. Basically, as he did throughout the whole match, Mitoma just got past his marking man, put the ball into the box, and it was an own goal from Robinson. Adingra scored from a Gross pass, and then they scored another goal. Brighton, can't remember exactly who that was again. But yeah, Brighton in the end, deserved winners, obviously, easily just controlled the game. Huge letdown for anyone with Estepinian, especially those of you who have Estepinian and then Solanke or someone like that on first bench, because Estepinian came on with 10 minutes left. He played really attacking. Could have probably had an attacking return as well in the 10 minutes that he did play, which just once again proves how valuable he is if he does play, because he did play in that more attacking role that he was at the earlier part of the season. But yeah, only 1 point for Estepinian, which is really sad for anyone that has him. But Sheffield United, again, proved to be a team that you should target, especially when they get a stupid red card early in the game. So yeah, this game was just basically lost for them pretty early on. And Brighton just took advantage and scored a lot of goals, as they tend to do sometimes. But it's just hard to know who's going to play for Brighton, as we've seen with Estepinian and basically all their players, apart from potentially Welbeck, who seems to play every game for some reason, and Mitoma plays a lot, and Gross plays a lot, and he got the assist, got 3 bonus points despite only getting an assist, and Adingra scoring twice. He got less bonus points than Gross. Mitoma had 2 assists, he got less bonus points than Gross. Gross is just a fantastic player who's gotten 30 points in the last 3 game weeks. Been absolutely fantastic. He's also on penalties with Joe Pedro still out for Brighton, so another really good option who doesn't play in Game 29. So there are just a lot of good players that you can buy that don't play in Game 29, but you're probably not going to buy them if you are looking to get past Game 29 without the free hit. So yeah, once again, trying to make the case for free hitting Game 29. I think that's the best tactic personally, but either way, do as you will for that game. Let's move on to the final game before we reach the hour mark of this video. It's been a long one, but there's a lot to talk about this game week with a lot of refereeing mistakes. But yeah, Luton against Man United, kind of a crazy opening to this game. I think all 3 goals were scored in the first 14 minutes. Within 38 seconds, I think, Man United had scored with Højlund. The ball basically goes to Luton's half. Bell has the ball, could easily just header it back to the goalkeeper or pass it back to someone. Instead, he passes it sideways to Højlund, who was full speed ahead. So yeah, I don't know what Bell was thinking there. Basically passes straight to Højlund. Højlund goes past the goalkeeper and scores. He did what Bruno Fernandes and Garnacho couldn't do in the second half, which was interesting. But yeah, Man United took the lead that way, and then about 5 minutes later or so, they get another chance. Garnacho shoots it from outside the box, and the ball basically hits Højlund in the chest and bounces into the goal. I think at the start of the season, Højlund, that ball would have been on its way to the goal, would have been a goal for Garnacho, and then Højlund would have hit it wide. But this time around, it was the opposite. Højlund has now gotten the fortune on his side, as I've written there. Højlund's turn of the fortune now. It's his turn to be lucky. The ball hit him in his chest, and he scored the second goal. 2 goals for Højlund. Anyone that brought in Højlund the last few game weeks, hats off to you. Another good player who doesn't have a fixture, most likely in Gameweek 29. So again, I made my point on that several times now, but that was 2-0 for Man United, and that was basically it when it comes to Man United dominating the game. Because from that point on, Luton just basically took over the game completely. They scored an equalizer after about 15 minutes of play. Alfred Doughty, who was, again, really lively, as I've written there in the notes. He is really good when it comes to expected liveliness each game. He passed the ball to Tahith Chong, who tried to shoot, as he did several times this game, to the dismay of those of us with Doughty in our team, because he was open for the pass several times when Chong shot it. But this time, the shot from Chong ended up going up in the air, went behind Luke Shaw and towards Carlton Morris. Almost like Clinton Morris there, Carlton Morris, who got to the ball first. Onana came out, tried to save it, but Morris headed it into the middle of the goal. Got the first goal for Luton, and at that point they were trying to get the equalizer, obviously. They basically took over the match in general. They had most possession by far, dominated the match. Basically, Doughty, like I mentioned, got the ball several times, got several chances to cross the ball, but Luton never really had like those major chances. That was more Man United, as you can see from the expected goals in this game, which sort of doesn't write the whole picture, because Luton down 2-0 really early, pretty huge expected goal chance for. Well, I think basically both goals. The first goal especially when Højlund has gone past the goalkeeper and can pass it into an open net. But also the second goal, it's sort of just registered as a shot from Højlund from pretty close range, with not that many defenders in between him and stuff. So I think that's actually pretty high XG as well for Højlund, as you can see from his non-penalty expected goal moment there, 1.25. So 2 pretty good expected goal chances for Man United turning into goals. Then Luton scored from Carlton Morris. And then from that point on, like I mentioned, Luton just took over the game, basically. But Man United had some pretty huge chances towards in the second half at least. Bruno Fernandes was through on goal, got it past Kaminski, who had a fantastic game, who basically made sure that it was closer in the end for Luton, defensively at least. But yeah, Fernandes went past him, but then Sambi Lokonga, the loanee from Arsenal, with a last-ditch tackle to basically hinder Bruno Fernandes from getting a really what's the word I'm looking for? A goal that Fernandes has been looking for a long time, because he has been struggling lately, and he had a pretty poor game in general. Several like pretty poor passes and poor just finishes in general, and this was just the final one of them. He got really pissed off by not scoring that goal. Garnacho again also had a similar chance towards the end of the match. Got through on goal. Kaminski got his hand to it, which basically made Garnacho have to sort of double take and get the ball back, and then he wasn't able to finish the chance either. But Man United had big chances, but Luton had most of the play. Several crosses into the box, but they just couldn't get it done, basically. Doughty, like I mentioned, was really super involved in the game in total, and that ended up being costly for him because he was kind of tired towards the end of the match. Also kind of tired of not getting the pass from Chong, and he was subbed off pretty early. Not early, but like he was subbed off with about 15 minutes left to go, so couldn't really affect the rest of the game there. Man United basically held on and got the 2-1 win, as they've done several times this season. I think both Kevin and I predicted a 2-1 win for Man United in this game, because that's basically the main result for Man United this season. I wonder how many times they've won by one single goal, Man United, this season. But again, another huge win for them. Huge game for Højlund, who scored 2 goals. Could have had his hat-trick as well, I guess. He was subbed off a bit earlier as well. Garnacho looked really lively as well. Could have easily had more points, especially with when he was through on goal. He had the assist for Højlund, of course, so he got 5 points at least, but he could have had a lot more points as well. So several good options for Man United. Højlund looking good, Garnacho looking good. Defensively, not so much, probably. Luke Shaw had to be subbed off injured again. Maguire had some pretty terrible mistakes defensively, which Luton could have easily taken advantage of. I think Diogo Dalot also had a pretty good chance for Man United to score. If you're looking for Man United defensive asset, I think Dalot is definitely the one to go for. But defensively, they haven't been that good. But offensively, Man United have been really good, especially with Garnacho and Højlund lately. So yeah, pay attention to those guys. But 2-1 win for Man United in the end, and that's about it for the video. I think it's been just about an hour, just about right now actually. So if you made it all the way through, I'm glad you watched all the way through. I'm hoping you enjoyed this content. Subscribe if you haven't already, of course. And with that, I'm just going to leave you with that, and see you all next time. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.